On Sunday, there have been surprising results in the first round of the presidential elections 2022 in Brazil, with former President Lula da Silva and President Bolsonaro. With Lula leading the first round, the final results will be seen on October 30th on the second round of the presidential elections. Our correspondent Brian Meir has the details.
There have been some surprising results in today's elections in Brazil, but they're not that surprising. Lula was expected to get between 48 and 52% of the vote. He needed 50% plus one vote to win in the first round. He ended up with around 48%. That falls within the margin of error of Datafolha polling agency. On the other hand, Jair Bolsonaro, the incumbent, was expected to end up somewhere in the 30s, in the upper 30 percentile. He ended up with around 43%. There's still about 5% of the electorate of the votes still coming in. He ended up with around 43%. More than expected. At the same time, third place candidate Ciro Gomes, who initially marketed himself as a leftist, but spent the last half of his campaign attacking Lula on an almost daily basis, feeding the Bolsonaro supporters with character assassination, with memes against Lula and things like that. It looks like the votes that he lost, dropping from around 7-8% in the polls to 3% in the results, went to Bolsonaro instead of Lula. So what does Lula need now to win the election at the end of the month? He needs third place finisher Simone Tebet's MDB party on board. They were on board with his presidency, the last 6 years of his presidency. They're a large center-right party that normally sides with whoever is in power. They've been part of every government since the end of the dictatorship. If they switch over to Lula, it could be enough to give him the few million votes he needs to push it over the top this month and end up winning the election. There have also been some interesting results on the federal Congress level and the state Congress level. On the senatorial level, the left took a big beating. A lot of former cabinet ministers like Damares Alves from the Bolsonaro government were elected into the Senate. At the congressional level, there were gains for the left, important gains like Carol D'Artura, who's become the first black woman congresswoman in the history of Paraná state. She's a former teachers union leader and someone to watch in the future. But for now, there's a lot of mixed feelings out there. Gains in Congress, gains in the state Senate. The fact that Bolsonaro avoided the election ending in the first round is going to be viewed by his supporters as a victory. But if you look, Lula didn't really lose any votes. So there's still a lot of hope that he can take the presidency in the second round election.